Hello, this is Janet Gallen welcoming you to Love Letters Live. And I will tell, well, I'm going to have a whale of a time, I can tell. I think we all are. My guest today is Johanna Siegmann, who is a photographer with a specialty. You say hello and say what your specialty is and the name of your book, and let's start there.
Absolutely. Hi, everybody. My name is Johanna Siegmann, as Janet said. My book is entitled In Good Company, and it is a book of portraits of people with their pets. And this ain't like your other pet portraits. These are frozen moments. Another interviewer used that phrase and it's like, oh my God, yes, that's exactly what they are. They're these frozen moments. They are the relationship and the connection between people and their pets. So it's not just, I'm here, here's my cat, my dog, my cow, whatever
Oh,
it is.
good. Okay. I'm
It's,
hoping that at some point you'll hold up a couple of pages.
oh, I can, let me see. I can, Harlan didn't send you something? Okay, I can probably share with you. We can talk a little bit about that
Well,
while
we could talk about that later, but I want to know.
Mhm.
Uh, I mean, you've taken on kind of an important role, I think. You are documenting or recording
Mhm.
one of humankind's most important relationships.
Yep. Yeah.
Would you
Oh,
say?
that's a wonderful way of looking at it. Yes, I think I think that humans have had companion animals for as long as there have been humans. And so there is clearly something very visceral and very fundamentally important about having some sort of connection with our wild counterparts,
Oh,
our
that okay. So
non-human.
that's kind of an interesting. I never thought of that connection.
Right?
But what my question to you is, what is it about people and dogs? I'd start with what is it about dogs, but people and dogs, when you see over the years,
Hmm.
even like a president of the United States, if they get a dog, it is front page news.
Yes.
And there are pictures of the family. What, as I say, I barely know where to begin. What,
I
because
think,
it, go
yes.
ahead.
I think okay. So again, this is my interpretation. This is my belief that I do believe that animals are how we reconnect with our humanity. And that is the most important thing because as humans, we have an intellect, which arguably some other species do not. But in our intellect, we get into our head and out of our heart. And that's when we get
Oh,
into trouble. And so I think that animals, you and I could be talking, having this very grown up conversation, and your pet could come in, and all of a sudden we're both like,
oh, okay.
so yeah.
So here's my next question.
Yeah.
And I want to know, I have a dog for the
Uh-huh.
first time in my life. I 2 years ago, a rescue. He is smarter than I am, and I'm up. I think I'm up there.
Yeah.
This animal is so smart and just communicates. And there is something about seeing a person with a pet, a
Mhm.
person who is good to a pet, and having a moment that makes you trust the person.
Right.
But more than that, in communicating,
Hmm.
you have pets?
I no longer have pets. No.
Okay. Well, when you did, I ask people this now.
Mhm.
Do you speak gibberish to your dog?
All the time. Oh yeah.
Uh-huh.
And it's not just gibberish; it's also baby talk.
Different.
They literally bring us back to the heart, to that. When people talk to babies, it's because they're out of their head. So there's no more shame. There's no more ego. There's nothing. So it's just
Oh, good.
emotion. And that is exactly what I try and get from people. I
Okay.
did a shoot once where the owner was an owner of something called Box Brothers, a shipping and mailing mailbox thing. And he wanted to do a shoot. And and I said, well, would you get into a box for me? And he goes, oh yeah, sure. So people will be childlike and genuine and unashamed and vulnerable.
I would say an uninhibited.
Yes, uninhibited in as long as they're with their pet. And then when I set up these sessions, which most of the preparation happens before. I don't just show up with my camera and my lights. There's a whole intake that goes on so that I can create a concept that is specific to that person and their pet, that pet. It doesn't exist anywhere else. They won't look like anybody else's because those people are unique and their relationship is unique. And so all of that goes on before I even get there. So
yes, nice. So there's setting an emotional, but I want to point something out and ask what you think.
sure.
You said yes, gibberish, baby talk. They're not the same.
No.
I have no baby talk counts on using actual words.
Oh, but it's the tone.
It was the tone and how you pronounce them, and yes, baby talk. I mean, you might even, I can't even think of, because I don't speak baby talk.
Yes.
Not to children, I do gibberish. And I will see, and I can do baby talk, by the way, in my own language. I mean, I don't do it. I would be ashamed to even do it, I think.
Just bring your pet on, it'll happen naturally.
Well, but I cannot do it in other languages that I've learned. I can't do baby talk, for example, in French or Italian. I can't, because they weren't what I heard as a baby, I guess.
Yeah.
But
I think, but what you are talking about is connection, regardless of whether you use actual words or whether you use gibberish. What you are expressing with your gibberish is just pure love, because since they're not attached to actual words, that's just how you connect with your pet.
Yes.
And that's so sweet. I love that.
So, and people, by the way, seem to have opinions. So I asked my daughter last night, I said, I've been meaning to ask you, do you speak gibberish or baby talk to Olga, their pet?
Mm-hmm.
And she said, oh, baby talk. I wouldn't speak gibberish.
Oh.
But perfectly comfortable. People seem to have kind of one way or the other. But yes, gibberish. Okay.
Yeah. Well, I try not to judge. I mean, I think half the things I say is gibberish, but that's all other.
Right. Okay. So we've done. Now,
that's a whole other thing. Yeah.
What is it that in your portraits, if you can think of a couple of stories, what is it that dog is saying to the person?
Mm-hmm.
And what is it that the person is saying to the dog or feeling that you capture? Can you put any of that in words?
That's a really interesting question. Predominantly, so the way this came about is because a friend of mine asked me to do a portrait of her aging dog, and he couldn't get up off the floor and nothing was happening because she was up in a chair, and I asked her to just get down on the floor next to him. And the minute she did that, the energy started to, the love between them. And so I would say, predominantly speaking, the thing that happens between them is mostly love, is what I experience, is just this connection. And the way the love is expressed is different. Sometimes it's playful, sometimes it's very spiritual or gentle. Sometimes it's explosive, they're very active, but it's always when the connection happens, which is what I try and get into these pictures. And it's just that moment. It's this, it's in an instant. That's what comes through in the images, is just love, is, I love you so much. It's like, I love you so much. It's love. It's love.
It's love, yes. And I guess trust would underlie that, huh?
Oh, yeah. Well, you can't love without trust. So I think that's the global,
So you have quite a collection of significantly well-known people.
Right.
Dogs. Right. Do you go to their homes to do this? I mean, there is a pandemic. When did you be able to go to their homes? Or do you do any of it on Zoom? Or how do you do it?
Yeah, no. So the project has been in the works for 10 years. So it's been the hardest part of all of this. The hardest part is scheduling, and sometimes it would take 9 months to schedule somebody because the schedule is, and I've traveled. I've been to Mexico I shot with the former First Lady of Mexico.
Really?
I've been to DC. I've been to New York. So. And setting all of that, it just takes time. And yes, there was a pause during the pandemic because I did not feel comfortable going to other people's homes.
Of course. And by the way, I forgot that there was a before pandemic that
right? Yeah, the BP, right? And So, and no, I don't do any of these via Zoom because it really requires me to be present. I do not think that I could connect with the pet in the way that I have
Oh,
to.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
So,
That's why I was
uh,
curious.
and then
And
it's all energetic. So, for me,
right.
I, I, I would say I'm the Deanna Troy of photographers in that I'm very empathic. I literally physically feel energy from other beings, from humans, from
Oh, sure.
and when I arrive at the after we've set up the concept and everything and we've come to the house, the first thing I say is I'm going to pay attention to you, but first I have to calibrate with the pet because it's really important that the pet the concepts are all about behaviors and rituals and things that they normally do. It's a slice of life. It's their life. And I don't impose anything on that. I'm there to capture the thing, right?
So
And
you must
so
take snap, 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 and then choose, right? I mean, you must. How many pictures do you take before you choose on the one that's perfectly
Um,
says what you
so
want?
because I'm so prepared and because I know exactly what I want and because I'm really good at doing this, I average about 75 photos per session, which is minuscule amount. And most people shoot, hundreds of pictures. They do, they do
Uh-huh,
birds
uh-huh.
and stuff like that. I just don't have the time to go through hundreds and hundreds of pictures.
Right.
And
I was
because I know what I want, I know when I get it. And it's also very dependent on what the pet is up to. Sometimes the pet is like with dogs especially. I mean, and I wanted to point out I've shot 27 different species of animals. It's not
Oh, I
just
was going to
dogs and
ask you
cats.
about that next. Are you
I
just
mean,
okay? Go ahead.
no, not just dogs and cats. In the book, I've got rats, snakes, I've got
Oh,
donkeys, dogs, cats,
I
So
was
there's
so
a bit of
unaware of
everything.
that. I'm glad you said talk about rats.
Yeah, rats. Well, okay, I love all animals, honestly, and so of course, my favorite one's the one I'm talking about in the moment. And rats are just awesome.
Tell
They're
why.
they're very smart.
Yeah.
They're I think the biggest surprise or the biggest misconception about animals in general is that they're all the same. Like all dogs are the same, all rats are the
Oh
same, all
no.
ducks. The biggest surprise I ever had was ducks. Ducks are the funniest thing. They have such personality. They look you up and down. You know that they're thinking. And just because animals do not have or express their intelligence in the same way that humans do, does not mean they are not intelligent.
Right.
And I have come to see how intelligent most species are. It's really hard with reptiles. It's hard to see what a tortoise
Oh,
or a
yeah.
snake or those are the hardest ones to connect to because they're just so different
Right.
from mammals.
Right.
But um if you are, and I think that part of this has to do also with my ability, the whole energy calibration. When I allow them to be in charge and respect what it is they're trying to communicate to me, I think that there is a heightened sense of understanding between us. And that is why I'm able to direct them to use a word, because I don't control them, but I suggest to them what it is I'm expecting. And since these behaviors are things that they do normally in the course of their day, then it's like, oh yeah, we're going to do this now. Woo.
But
And
I'm so glad you talk about. I have a friend who has a little white cockatiel as a pet.
oh, uh-huh.
She's an opera singer, and I had said to her at one point, "This bird is so smart." And I said to her, does Snowball ever sing with you? She said, no. She said, you can count on one hand the 5 times I've ever hit a sour note. But
Uh-huh.
she did recently, and the bird looked at her and out of the room, shunned her.
Oh my God.
Also, they get used to it, climbed up on her shoulders, got very beautiful, shiny, slick black, 2 gray hairs. The
Yes,
bird got up on her shoulder and ripped them out of her head.
it really bothered him or her.
Something. So,
Something
you
really,
say they're
yeah,
all intelligent.
yeah.
Yes. So what are some of the other what about a bearded dragon? Do you have any of those?
I do. I have not in the book, but I have taken photos of bearded dragon. I've done an alligator, a porcupine. Hold on, there's a whole list. There's a whole list. Let me see if I can find it. It's too funny. A cow, not a cow, pigs, Oh goodness, now I'm not going to be able to find
Well,
the,
that's okay. You can send it to me separately, and I can,
yeah,
yes,
yeah,
okay.
27 different animals.
Um,
Yeah.
yes. Now, what to say, what is your goal in having this book published?
Well, um, it's really important to me. I try and approach life through my heart, and I think we're living in a very polarized time right now, and because of the work that I do, I tend to I'm very intuitive, and I do believe very much in the law of attraction and in energetic exchange and stuff like that.
Hmm.
And if you live your life through love, if you approach someone and your first intent is expressing love, like approaching someone as you would your pet, if you approach someone like that, if you go into life with an attitude of love and acceptance and embracing and patience and compassion, that's what comes back to you. If you approach and look at life through the lens of criticizing and judgment and hatred and anger, that's what comes back to you. So whatever you put out there comes back to you. And in these images and with this book, I really want people to, every time they look at one of the images, to have that squeeze in the heart, that sense of, oh my God, I love this, and use that as an example of where you need to be to go forth into the world. Approach the life from that place of love.
Very
And
nice.
it's I did this in collaboration. A portion of the proceeds is going to go to this 501c3 charity called Apex Protection Project. And they are a wolf advocacy and education organization, because they have also been completely maligned and demonized as these terrible things. And the reality is they are really important in our ecosystem. Without them, Yellowstone was dying. Yellowstone eradicated them, and the fields and the meadows were drying up. The herds were sickly, all of that stuff. And miraculously, as soon as they were reintroduced, the park healed. And
So, I have,
yeah, go ahead.
well, you talked about maligned, and I have noticed, and I think this is important, that there's a large tendency, I wish it weren't so,
Mm-hmm.
to see animals as kind of the enemy and vicious and cruel if they're not, they're just taking care of their own. They got their
Yeah.
own agenda.
Yeah.
The fact that, licking our faces isn't part of their agenda doesn't make them mean.
Right. Exactly. And
Seeing things through their eyes, yes.
right. Well,
Yes.
due to our entertainment and due to the way humans are wired, we tend to anthropomorphize. Hey, I said the word properly. And so when we look at animals that have not been domesticated, we tend to describe them with words that have no bearing to the wild. Like, they're vicious when they kill. Well, they're surviving.
Right. I mean, how kind are we when we butcher an
There's
animal for
nobody
a
there with a
barbecue?
can of Alpo waiting for them at home.
Right.
And they have to defend themselves. They have to provide
Right.
for it's nature. And if humans weren't around, it wouldn't be any different. And so there is a distinction. There is a distinction between domesticated animals and wild
Sure.
animals.
Sure.
But the distinction doesn't make them any less important and doesn't make them good or bad. It's just
Right.
different. It's a different thing.
So I have another,
Yeah.
just an observation. I want you to say what you think. I remember as a child, and this
Mm-hmm.
is a long time ago because I'm past 80, so I'm going back to like the 40s.
No,
When
you
we had,
lie.
what?
You lie about that age. Oh my
No.
goodness.
But anyway, the point is we had trading cards. I don't know if we had trading cards.
Yeah, I'm
And
aware of them. Yeah.
okay, so each one was like a beautiful, and the ones that were the most important and worth the most were the animals.
Yeah.
There were certain dogs, and I mean I can picture them.
Yeah.
And you would give 10 something else to get one of those little dogs.
Uh-huh.
There's something calming about them. I have a book on just dogs.
Yeah.
I look at it, it's one of those, you call it coffee table books.
Uh-huh.
There is something so calming
Hmm.
Whatever your frame of mind is, when you start looking at pictures, would you say
Yeah.
something calming happens?
Well,
And
it's the
you
proxy.
told
Yeah.
us, pardon?
Yeah. It's the photographs are a proxy for actually having a pet. So, if people don't have pets but want to have pets and can't have pets for whatever their apartment or the,
Hmm.
allergies or whatever,
Sure.
whatever reason, photos of them is the next best proxy. And you are absolutely right because, like I said before, animals are an instant conduit to our heart. Instant.
Okay, so
You
that's
know,
you kind of said that in a different way before. I guess that is kind of the overriding
yes.
explanation.
Yeah. And this is why we have pets because with pets get us out of our head. Pets don't
Yes.
care about mortgages or the commute or the evening news or, your toast burnt. They don't care about that. It's like,
Right.
feed me, love me, play with me. That's it.
There's
That's
also
it.
something very elevating, personally, I would think,
Hmm.
about looking after another creature. Well, that's what you're saying, gets you out of your head, not full time thinking
Right.
about
But
yourself and what you,
exactly. But yes, compassion for someone else other than
uh-huh.
yourself.
And
Concern.
that's a need that needs to be filled. Let me
Yes.
ask you something,
Yeah.
kind of aside, because I'm about love letters and the power of letters
Yes.
is enormous. Do you write letters ever?
I used to be a writer. And then in 2000, okay, so this kind of sort of leads into how come I became a photographer. In 2007, I had breast cancer, and my ability to write was dramatically changed. I was unable to access the words in order to write. I mean, I can speak just fine, but if I wanted to tell a story, I just could not make that connection anymore, and that led to taking photographs because
Okay, so
if
that's
I could,
another way of obviously writing
yeah,
is.
of writing, yeah. So yeah.
What about letter writing? I mean, do you ever send a letter of, appreciation or see, I think if you have a positive thought about somebody,
Hmm.
why not just sit down, write it, stick it in an envelope and mail it?
I have done
Because,
that, yes. I have
okay,
done that in the past. I have not done it recently, and maybe this is one of those habits that we need to bring back is to really externalize. That's what it is. Externalize our love. It's not just enough that we feel it, but I think it's also important to express it and bring it into the realm of three-dimensionality, not just conceptually.
yes. So if you ever feel like, if you were to do it, if I were to say to you right now, who would get your love letter right now if you were to just sit back and write one? Gratitude, a memory, it doesn't matter.
Oh my gosh. Oh my, you put me on the spot. There's just too many. There's so
Okay.
many
Oh,
people.
but by the
Yes,
way, that there's too many is a
yes,
perfect answer
yes,
because writing a love letter isn't a one-time shot. It's kind of a way of life,
yes,
and gratitude taken to the grave serves no one. You might as well send it on.
exactly,
Yes.
exactly. And it's all those times that, well, that they loved you, right? Well, they never said it, and it's important. You are absolutely right. It is important to externalize it, to concretize it, to
Right.
to let the person, the object of your gratitude, love,
Yes,
affection,
I think so.
know, right? They should
And
know.
also, once you have it in some handwriting rules, handwriting is king.
Yes.
Um, People can read it again and again. You can't reread a phone call, as
Nope.
somebody said.
Yeah. Yeah.
And memory fades. Well, memory fades, which is one of the reasons your book is so important. So all these people who are featured in your book
Mm-hmm.
and look back at it
Mm-hmm.
years later and
Mm-hmm.
visually get a visual reminder of who they were at that moment.
Right.
Worth a
Right.
lot, I would say.
Yeah. So yes, and also, and so one thing that I'm thinking of doing more of, there are a couple of images in the book that one of them is a memorial image,
Oh,
which is a very unique experience for me, and it's something that it was suggested to me as I was pursuing other people to photograph, and I was originally not going to do it, and then I thought, wait, love doesn't die, so this was a one off,
right.
really beautiful, and the whole experience was very different from all my other pet portraits. Obviously, there was no actual pet there, but a lot of people have approached me about aging animals, like my friend who I originally started this with, and I think that doing more of those. People suddenly look at their pet and go, oh, they're mortal. They're not going to be here forever. I want a photo of us, and not just, representational photo like traditional pet portraits where it's like, this is me and Fido, this is me and, Foofy. But one of my portraits where it's a frozen moment, something that from their lives, one of these connection photographs.
Well, also, if you could see I mean, yes, there's something heart-ripping and awful in a way, but beautiful about seeing a creature you love all the way through life to the end.
Yes, exactly.
With as much love and comfort. I mean,
if you wanted, I could share a couple of pictures. If you wanted, I could share a couple of pictures if you want.
Do you have them handy with you right now?
I do. If you
hold one up.
Is the screen shareable?
No. I'll post them later.
Oh, okay. I'll do it that way.
Yes. All right. So we'll do that later. I'll look forward to seeing your book.
Yeah.
When will it be coming out? People need to know.
The book is currently in pre-order at any online bookstore seller that you prefer. Barnes and Noble, Amazon, anywhere globally. It's available around the world. Its official date is Love Your Pet Day. And who doesn't love their pet day, right? And that's February 20th.
Okay.
I like to say that it makes a great gift for anybody who loves their pet. So
yes. And also, I don't generally have a big feel for, celebrities. I guess it's not a nice thing to say, but people do look to them as role models.
Well, that's exactly it. And that was that was the reason I chose to do it, because I have dozens of pictures of mere mortals, with their pets that are just, they're, I don't make any better pictures for notable people than I do for regular people.
But people tend to emulate those who are.
Well, it draws attention, but I also wanted to show that even the high and mighty will connect with
gibberish
the way everybody else does.
Right.
It humanizes them. We tend to get these crazy concepts of people who are notable, and I wanted to show that they're just like you and me.
So it's a nice leveling of.
It's leveling. It's humanizing. It's it always brings it back to the love. And
doesn't it? Oh, good for you. I want to thank you for doing this with me. I'm so happy we met.
I'm so happy we met. You're awesome. Thank you. Wonderful questions.
Ditto you. And I'm going to look for this book because I know it's going to make me smile.
Thank you. Yes, I believe it will.
Thank you, dear. I hope we'll have reason to talk about something else, some other aspect of this at another time.
Anytime.
And if there's something else that's important to you that you want to talk about to more of the public, you let me know.
You bet. I sure will. And
Perfect.
I'll send you those pictures so you can share them with your viewers.
Thank you. I appreciate that a lot. Okay. So I'm just going to tell you goodbye for now.
Okay.